And then you just create an archetype. And like, I think in a lot of ways, that's the Charlie thing to the furthest extreme.
Charlie loved life.
This is someone that wants us to buy this bullshit so bad. This is someone that legitimately wants us to buy this. I'm telling you, this is not real. Like, you want me to buy this? Is not fucking the global fucking Academy Awards. I don't know what you got going on, sis. So I used to solve shit for a living. Let me tell you guys something. When someone's lying to you, the first thing they try to do is convince you, right? And the only way I can convince you is by invoking your emotion into my emotion. So if I'm angry, I want to make you angry, because if I can convince myself I'm angry, I'm psychologically thinking that you're convinced I'm angry. And so when you go, and he saw the face of his Lord.
That whispering part where she kind of half whispers, I've never heard any human being communicate like that. And I've seen a lot of people in these situations.
Why did Joe Rogan and Andrew Schulz suddenly mention Charlie Kirk's widow out of nowhere? And why did their tone make it sound like they'd just leaked a secret meant to stay buried? This wasn't some casual podcast banter. It felt too charged, too deliberate. It wasn't a joke, and it definitely wasn't small talk. There was something in their voices, a stretched pause longer than anyone expected, that froze the whole room. It didn't sound like storytelling. It felt like exposure. Like they'd let slip something they weren't supposed to. Schulz broke the silence first. His voice calm but laced with that trademark sarcasm, though it wavered with confusion at the end. He mentioned a man who'd said things better left unsaid, then half joked that if he were you, he'd avoid saying them at all. That throwaway comment cracked the door open. Nobody knew exactly who he meant, but everyone felt it wasn't random chatter. Rogan didn't jump in. He just nodded, gaze lowered, a faint grin curling as if he'd heard this rumor before. And that silence, spoke volumes. When Rogan doesn't talk, people listen harder. When he smiles, no one knows if it's agreement or a warning. Within hours of the episode dropping, the internet lost its mind. TikTok, Reddit, and X turned into digital microscopes, slowing every frame, dissecting every glance, desperate to catch what they didn't say.
I think he said a few things that if I was his friend, I would say, don't say it like that. I know what you're trying to say, but don't ever say, when I go into a cockpit, I hope that the pilot, if he's black, is qualified. I know what you're trying to say. You shouldn't hire underqualified pilots. But saying it like that,
just because of the color of their skin.
He's probably not hanging out with black people, not knowing how offensive that's.
Some zoomed in on Joe Rogan's eyes. Others dissected Andrew Schultz's subtle nod. Every frame told the same story. Something's off, something's being hidden. But the real explosion didn't come from what they said. It came from how they said it. Those pauses, the sly grins, the half-serious, half-joking tones left everyone wondering what was real and what was performance. Then just seconds later, Schulz leaned in, lowered his voice, smiled, and said, "If you believe that's true, then you're special." He laughed. Rogan laughed. The audience? Dead silent. In that tiny moment, everything flipped. Millions began asking, what are they hinting at? Why now? And why bring up Charlie Kirk's widow when no one really knows what happened? No one had answers, but everyone felt certain they were missing one. Rogan and Schulz are no amateurs. They're masters at saying everything by saying nothing. Some claimed it was all a joke. Others swore it was the start of something big, a hidden truth, maybe even a social experiment. Whatever it was, it worked. With just a smirk, a glance, and 2 seconds of silence, they sent the internet spiraling. And that's the chilling part. It wasn't what they revealed, it's what they refused to explain. No denial, no confirmation, just pure echoing silence. And in that silence, 1,000 theories were born.
For everyone who is watching this, restreaming this, if you think this is genuine, you are very special. You are very unique. This is some of the worst acting. Like, she would give fucking the people that are on those Hallmark shows a run for their money. Give me a break. Give me a break. You could restream me all of them all you want to. If you buy into this, this says more about you than it does about me.
Every glance, every smirk, every pause, it's all calculated. Nothing Joe Rogan or Andrew Schulz does is by accident. And then right in the middle of a totally unrelated chat, they drop a name. Charlie Kirk's wife. Not with curiosity, Not with sympathy, but with a tone sharp enough to make listeners freeze, like they'd just stumbled onto something hidden in plain sight. The woman everyone still sees as a tragic figure suddenly becomes the center of unease. The audience feels it. This isn't about sorrow anymore. Rogan isn't discussing grief. He's hinting at movement, at motive, at something quietly happening behind the curtain.
So Charlie Kirk's wife, who the day Charlie Kirk was murdered, I said I felt for, I still do, for her and her kids, she's grifting now. Charlie Kirk is worth tens of millions of dollars. That's a fact. That's not an opinion. And his wife is going on social media and asking people for donations and money. What is she doing? Other than grifting, what else would you call that? If you're going to get donations, why wouldn't you use it for something like, I don't know, helping the homeless, doing something about those that are mentally ill, for example? There's so much you could do with these donations and money that can help society. Instead, she's going to be using it for herself. And I say to myself, your husband was worth tens of millions of dollars. Why are you grifting and asking for money before your husband is even 6 feet underneath the ground? I find this distasteful and I find it disgusting.
Rogan in the podcast didn't need to say much, just one sentence. There's something wrong with this. That sentence, short, cold, and vague, was like a spark dropped into a sea of doubt.
Our turning point, let's say family, but I want you guys all to see the Medal of Freedom and be able to look at it in the back of it. You guys are all part of the legacy. So like the ending on the back, that's the first and last time I'll put a cross on it. I literally will sing here to all of you. Like I'm not, I don't care. Everyone can have their own MC.
You're saying somebody in Charlie Kirk's circle has a high likelihood of assaulting?
And then it happened. Social media caught fire again. Timelines flooded, theories multiplied. People zoomed in on Erica Kirk, dissecting every smile, every blink, every quote about faith or hope as if it were a coded confession. Joe Rogan and Andrew Schulz never accused her of anything. They simply left a void, and the internet eagerly filled it. And in that empty space, things turned bizarre. Because if Charlie Kirk was the face of a movement, then his death, no, his passing wasn't just personal. It was public property. Now his widow stood under a microscope. Every move split between sincere and strategic. The more people searched, the less certain they became. A post could be devotion or manipulation. A smile could mean peace or power. That's why Rogan and Schultz's offhand mention hit so deep. They weren't just name-dropping a widow. They were exposing the fragile reality of modern trust, where anything can be real, or just look real. Every word Charlie Kirk spoke, every speech, every tweet, each one sent ripples across the digital ocean. His ideas spread, were praised, mocked, dissected. He wasn't just a voice. He was a phenomenon. So when he died, many assumed the spotlight would vanish with him. But it didn't. The light merely moved, straight onto the woman beside him, Charlie Kirk's widow. And what made it eerie was how effortless it seemed. She didn't beg for sympathy. She didn't rage or weep. She just appeared, poised, measured, speaking softly while the world around her spun in chaos. That composure hypnotized the public. Some called it grace, others called it strategy. Whatever it was, it worked. Because now she isn't just a widow. She's a mystery wrapped in calm. An enigma the world can't stop watching.
Since I've gotten older.
If this wasn't coached, if this wasn't pre-rehearsed, I don't know what else would. This is hitting all the hallmarks of doing three very important components. One, drawing you into her emotion. I believe she's a honeypot. I'm gonna be honest with you. I believe she's 100% honeypot. I don't believe that marriage was real whatsoever. I don't know how many of you guys want to see the rest of this. I don't buy a one fucking word that she says. Nothing about this conversation is relevant to show me just how much you give a shit about this person. I'm sorry. You'd be talking about the first time I met him. I remember when I met Charlie. I remember where he was. I remember, has no one ever heard a fucking eulogy before?
Joe Rogan and Andrew Schulz mentioned her. Not in an interview, not in some tribute, but as an almost careless slip, a throwaway remark that detonated online within minutes. With these two, nothing is ever accidental. Every aside, every smirk, every pause is a calculated move. They know the art of the half sentence, the power of planting doubt with nothing more than a look. So when the name Erica Kirk surfaced mid-conversation, the veterans knew. This wasn't a mistake. This was a signal, a spark disguised as small talk, and it worked brilliantly. Within hours, that offhand moment became digital wildfire. TikTok, Reddit, X, all ablaze with the same question. What do they know that we don't? A casual podcast clip morphed into obsession. Frame-by-frame breakdowns flooded feeds. A pursed smile from Rogan became a clue. A nod from Schulz, a coded confirmation. Curiosity twisted into suspicion, and suspicion erupted into global hysteria.
She seems really upbeat, really happy, only days after her husband was assassinated. That looks like smiles. That looks like laughing and happiness and joy. So many people notice this. Erica was laughing right after her husband was assassinated. No, I'm not saying she's celebrating. I'm saying it's weird.
A spark, accidental or perfectly staged, ignited into an unstoppable wildfire of rumor. And maybe, just maybe, that was the plan. Not to expose a secret, but to make the world start guessing. Because once doubt takes root, silence does the rest. It happened fast. In the middle of a routine chat, some politics, a few laughs, Andrew Schulz leaned back, exhaled, and said, half joking, half uneasy, "You know what's weird? No one's really said what happened to Charlie Kirk's widow." The words hit like metal on glass. The room froze. Joe Rogan paused mid-sentence, head tilted, eyes sharp. The look he gets when he realizes something just slipped that shouldn't have. Schulz gave a dry laugh. "God, I'm getting old," he muttered. But the joke didn't land. His tone cracked, nervous, uncertain, defensive. The air felt heavy. No one believed it was random. The moment had every mark of an unintentional confession, emotion, hesitation, and that final, flimsy cover-up. Then Schulz went further. His voice dropped low, disturbingly sincere. "I think she's an archetype," he said. "Someone built to manipulate emotion. I never bought that love story. Not the way the public did." Rogan looked up and chuckled. Not amused, but knowing. As if he'd heard the same thing before, somewhere off air. He didn't add a word. He didn't need to. The silence was louder than any confirmation. Schulz finished, mentioning ceremonies, accounts, statements. All of it, he said, felt staged. And when he stopped, Rogan stopped too. No one spoke. The quiet said everything. The moment stretched longer than a breath, and the silence became almost tangible. For those watching live, it was unsettling. No laughter, no filler music, just two men staring at each other. One had said too much. The other knew exactly how dangerous that truth could be. If you've watched Joe Rogan long enough, you know the tell. He leans back, smirks, glances left whenever someone brushes against a live wire. And that's precisely what he did. No words were needed. The audience could read it. They knew. Then Andrew Schulz broke the silence, his voice trembling. "I'm sorry, but I don't believe what she said. Not because I dislike her, but because it all felt too perfect, too rehearsed, like she was reading lines written for the public." The studio went dead quiet. And in that stillness, the audience heard what no one dared say aloud. Doubt, contradiction, fear. The fear that something lay beneath the story. Something both men recognized but wouldn't touch. Just a few seconds, yet enough to turn a casual chat into a viral storm. Because everyone watching understood. If anyone knew the truth, it was them. And if they only said half of it, that meant they couldn't say the rest. Rogan looked at Schulz, half smiling, half grave, and murmured, "Yeah, there's a reason for that." One simple sentence, but it hit like a coded knock on a locked door. After that, Rogan didn't deflect, didn't laugh. He just leaned forward, lips pressed tight in a smile that felt less friendly than foreboding. "Yes," Joe Rogan said softly, barely above a whisper. "There's a reason for that." And that was it. No elaboration, no context, just silence. Yet that silence roared louder than any revelation. Within minutes, the internet was ablaze. Viewers clipped the moment, slowed it down frame by frame. Brightened Rogan's face, searching for meaning in every twitch and blink. TikTok flooded with emotion analysis videos. People swore his eyes shifted, as if recalling something forbidden, or remembering a promise not to speak. On Reddit, threads multiplied overnight. Some claimed Andrew Schultz's expression confirmed it wasn't a slip at all. Others insisted they were speaking in code. Two men sharing a truth too dangerous to voice. The strangest thing? The episode had nothing to do with Charlie Kirk. No title, no topic, no segue. Just a sudden, inexplicable mention of Erica Kirk, his widow. Which made it feel deliberate. If it wasn't scripted, why that moment? Why the silence after? And why did Rogan's voice soften? As if he'd just remembered something buried. The clip went viral in hours. Fans begged for clarity, a tweet, a denial, anything. But Rogan said nothing. Not a word. He let the storm swirl, his silence becoming the answer everyone feared. And in that void, the imagination of millions went wild. Theories grew like weeds, half fact, half fantasy. When Rogan stayed quiet, the spotlight shifted. The internet turned its gaze to Erica Kirk, once hailed as a pillar of grace and strength, now recast as the eye of the storm. Suddenly, her every gesture was under a microscope. Her calmness became suspicion. Her steadiness looked rehearsed. People asked, was that sorrow or strategy? And in the noise of endless analysis, her silence began to sound a lot like his.
Was her gesture too controlled?
So how have we gone from this?
I forgive him.
Which was the 21st of September, and now 7 days later, we get this.
Nothing is changing, but I want to preface, we're not awkward. We're not like weird. We're not cringe. We're not going to be tweeting as if it's him. That's tone deaf and really disturbing. And anyone who does that's like morbidly off.
Hey, we're going to be doing about 5 more episodes a week now. So just tell the team and make sure that happens.
3 hours of this, 2 more hours of podcasting.
There is just something that just doesn't feel right. It feels wrong. It feels off. And I am trying so hard not to over-speculate, but it's hard when stuff like this is being put out to us. It's just not normal. It doesn't feel natural. I feel like we're watching a performance. It's almost like we're watching a movie unfold right in front of our eyes. And it's things like this that make me think that Charlie Kirk's assassination is so much bigger than we could ever imagine.
This will live on. The team is keeping this alive because we have Charlie in each and every one of us.
Old clips of Erica Kirk resurfaced overnight, rewound, cropped, and placed side by side with Joe Rogan's viral moment, as if comparing energy could reveal the truth. Every smile, every word, every tilt of her hands became evidence in the court of public opinion. Rogan's silence had done the impossible. It turned her into the center of the storm without her saying a single word. Now she was trapped in a cyclone of rumor, suspicion, and unanswered questions. Because in the internet age, an expression isn't just emotion, it's narrative. A pursed smile can rewrite history. Her old speeches, once hailed as moving, were replayed in slow motion. Every breath treated like a clue. Interviews once labeled inspiring now looked rehearsed. Was it sincerity or strategy? Altruism or public theater? The whispers grew louder. Is she hiding something? Protecting someone? The calm once praised as spiritual now seemed tactical, a silence that spoke too much by saying nothing. And just when it felt like it couldn't escalate further, it did. What began as stray comments beneath Rogan's clip erupted by morning into a full-blown media fever. Hashtags for Erica Kirk, Rogan, and Schulz trended worldwide. Viewers slowed down the audio, amplified background noise, and swore they heard a faint voice behind the camera whisper, "Don't say that." Then came the kicker. Andrew Schulz quietly liked a cryptic tweet. And that single click sent the internet spiraling all over again. Some stories don't end. They just pause. That was the cryptic tweet Andrew Schulz liked. Minutes later, Joe Rogan liked it too. Coincidence? The internet didn't think so. And just like that, the dominoes started to fall. Screenshots, timelines, Reddit threads, TikTok dissections, piling up like evidence. Users matched Rogan's silence with Erica Kirk's latest post, then froze when she shared an old photo with her late husband captioned, "The truth will outlast anything." That one line sent the internet into meltdown. Some said it was simple nostalgia. Others swore it was a coded warning, a message meant for someone unseen. Conspiracy channels called it a digital breadcrumb trail, a quiet conversation happening in plain sight. Even mainstream outlets couldn't resist asking, were Rogan and Schulz hinting at something they can't say out loud? With every hour of silence, the theories deepened and darkened. One camp cried cover-up. The other called it revelation. Both agreed on one thing. They couldn't look away. The truth no longer mattered, only the mystery did. By now, the internet had split clean in two. One side believed Rogan and Schulz had stumbled onto something enormous, something too dangerous to name. They said Charlie Kirk's widow wasn't silent from sorrow, but from knowledge, guarding a secret that could rewrite the story of his final days. The other side insisted it was all performance. Rogan playing the provocateur, Schulz adding drama, and poor Erica caught in a narrative she never asked for. But whichever version you believed, one fact refused to fade. It was all too perfect. Every pause, every post, every silence felt deliberate, like a live movie where no one could tell what was scripted. And what was terrifyingly real. While millions debated, Erica Kirk said nothing. No statements, no clarifications, no interviews. Just a chilling calm that the world couldn't quite decipher. Slowly, her silence transformed into both shield and sword. In a time when everyone screamed for attention, saying nothing became the loudest move she could make. Joe Rogan and Andrew Schulz kept releasing new episodes, moving on to other topics, but that single clip, the one that started it all, refused to die. Week after week, it resurfaced, edited, remixed, reanalyzed. Viewers swore they could see coded emotion in the pauses, hidden truth in the smiles. Coincidence or choreography? No one could tell anymore. The boundary between fact and fabrication had dissolved, leaving millions convinced they were chasing one final clue. Something enormous, unspoken, electric. The noise didn't fade. It evolved. Theories multiplied. Some said Rogan and Schulz were protecting someone close to Charlie Kirk. Others claimed they'd finally said what no one else dared to. Yet through it all, one truth cut through. The mystery had outgrown them. It wasn't just about Rogan, Schulz, or Erica anymore. It was about us, the audience, addicted to decoding silence. Some viewers believed the men were dropping veiled warnings. Others thought the brilliance was simpler, turning absence into intrigue. In just seconds of silence, they'd crafted a digital myth, a 15-second clip immortalized by obsession. And at the eye of it all stood Erica, serene, unbothered, unbreakable. She never defended herself. She didn't need to. Her following only grew, because what kept people hooked wasn't the tragedy nor the gossip. It was the mystery. It's the idea that truth, influence, and time can collide, creating outcomes no one could have predicted. A raised eyebrow from Rogan, a silent nod from Schulz, a simple caption from Erica. And so it goes. Millions of people building thousands of theories. Maybe there is no secret, or maybe that's exactly what they want us to believe. In an age where curiosity spreads faster than truth, silence is no longer absence, it's strategy. And as long as people keep hunting for hidden meaning, this story will never truly end. So the real question is no longer what happened, but did Joe Rogan and Andrew Schulz accidentally hit upon something bigger than they thought? Or was it all part of an elaborate plan to make the world ask again? Whatever it was, it worked. People watched. People guessed. No one could put it down. That's the power of mystery. It keeps you scrolling even when the truth stops fitting. Because maybe the truth isn't buried at all. Maybe it's hiding in plain sight, disguised as a podcast joke or just a quiet caption under the widow's photo. One thing's for sure, this story isn't over yet. And when the next piece of the puzzle comes, it won't just shake the internet. It might even rewrite how we see the truth itself. If you want to get ahead of that wave, leave your thoughts below, subscribe, and stay with us. Because in a world where silence speaks louder than words, the next word could change everything. The next word could change everything.